Hello, this is Daryl here, sending love as always. Thank you for tuning in. I just want to say if you like this interview, you can check our website for companion workbooks, action guides, tools, checklists, templates, and show notes with links for everything mentioned on the call. Just visit bestbusinesscoach.ca. That's best, B-E-S-T, businesscoach.ca. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multimillionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too, without experiencing the same obstacles they did. When your life and your business grow as a result of what you're about to discover, please call me and tell me about it. The number to leave a voicemail is 1-888-844-GROW. That's 1-888-844-4769. Long distance charges may apply. Dial now to call me, connect, share your personal story of how my interviews have helped, or share your current challenges and frustrations so I can connect you with an appropriate course, coach, or help you if you connect. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today I've got something exciting for you. Often they say it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And today's guest is an expert in getting the world to know your name. In fact, he's here to tell us how to get $1 million worth of free publicity. His name is Ulyses Osuna, and he's a 21-year-old PR strategist and founder of Influencer Press, a PR firm that manages publicity for influencers and for a few clients with over $100 million. He is also a columnist at Success Magazine, contributes to Huffington Post, Entrepreneur Magazine, and today I've asked him to join us to help us get more and better exposure with less time and effort. So Ulyses, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. How you doing?
I am doing amazing, dude. Thank you for the killer intro.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's not bragging if it's true, right? So all good, man. I mean, that's why we have you on the show now. But before we get into that stuff, I always like to find out, like, how do you come from a family of entrepreneurs? How did you get into marketing and sales and kind of business growth and, publicity and influence? Is this like the family background? Is this the family trade, the family business? Do you come from a family of entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So my family, like when I first started out in entrepreneurship, they did not want me to do it at all. Like, it was something to where every single day I would get lectured because I wasn't doing something productive in their eyes, right? Like in their eyes, they wanted me to go to college, or they wanted me to do schoolwork. They wanted me to, cut the grass outside. Essentially what they wanted me to do was busy work.
Right.
And for me, I never really agreed with like the philosophy of like do hard work and all that type of stuff, because my dad's a big believer in that. Like he will tell me to, go work out in the fields so I can know and empathize and all that type of stuff. But for me, it was like, I don't have to work out in the fields to understand that that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
So the way I found out about online marketing was through an ad. So I was on YouTube and I saw an ad, and the ad essentially was like selling me on the dream, right? He was telling me about his fancy car, his big house, his beautiful wife, the business that he has. Like he's doing multiple seven figures, all that type of stuff. And as a 17-year-old kid, I was like, I want that, right? And that was my motivation for the longest time. And I made a decision right then and there. I was like, you know what? This is possible. And the reason I thought that is because, coming from a small town of like 10,000 people, you never really get the thought of making it, right? That thought never pops up in your head. And if that thought never pops up in your head, then it's actually really difficult to even try to become an entrepreneur or something like that. Because if you don't have the thought that you can become something, then I can almost guarantee you that you won't become what you want to be.
Right. Right. You just don't have a role model, example. No one's ever caused you to dream big, right? The examples around you they're not stretching your brain that way.
Exactly. 100%.
Okay. So that got you into it. So how did you get started? Did you have like an early business?
I did. I have, so I was 17, right? At the time, the first thing that I ever did before I started a business was try to learn everything. Cause I'm the type of guy that I don't like to do trial and error. I like to know what I'm doing before I start it, just because I don't want to do a lot of stuff that's unnecessary, right? Because a lot of times, a lot of people will do work, but it'll just be the wrong work, and they'll be doing it for a long period of time.
Right.
So I did not want to waste my time doing the wrong work. But I did anyways, right? Like my first business was called cartoonphotos.com. So all I was selling was cartoon photos. So people would send in their picture. I would go to Fiverr, and then I'd kind of like, pay $5 to get the picture into a cartoon, and then I'd send it back. But the downside with that is that I realized that business was a luxury. That means It's not what people needed. It's not what people wanted. So it was very hard to make a sale, right? It only happened on holidays or for, senior photos or anything like that. It wasn't something that I could sell that people needed. Mm-hmm. And after that, I really got into like the online marketing space, and I started doing website design, conversions, capturing leads from email, from websites. And then I landed my first big gig, which is with Jack Vale. So he has like over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And that was like my first big in. And all I really needed was one big in, so I can use it as leverage to get another one, and then another one, another one. So after I was helping out some of these big guys, right? And by the way, if you're listening to this and you want to start off big, do not help people that are in your same space, right? Help people out that are influencers that are not in your same space, because chances are they need something that you have that you can give them. So that's what I did. And then I got asked to write on entrepreneur.com, Success, and all these different publications. And then because of that, it led to me creating my PR business. I realized like there was a real demand for that, and it aligned with everything that I wanted to do, right? People respect you. You're able to get on the biggest publications in the world because, as an 18-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, I thought anybody that was on Forbes made it. Mm-hmm. Well, I have that perception. There's tons and tons of people who have that same perception.
Right.
So it was just like the perfect niche for me.
Got it. So now what's been one of your greatest challenges in this business, and how have you overcome it?
One of my greatest challenges would have to be, I'd say, like systemization and like teamwork. Not so much the business side of things, but I'm more of like I'll put my head down and I'll get to work. But before, it's been like a real struggle to like find a team that is with you and that has the same vision, and the fact that you have to become the leader and you can't just like give them tasks and then, do your own thing. That's probably my biggest obstacle in the entire thing, because I just didn't know how to lead people. I didn't know how to be that bigger person for somebody else, because I was always focused on like, okay, what do I have to do?
And how is that like a pain point in your business?
You just hit bottlenecks. Like you can't do everything yourself, right? And I used to be a diehard solopreneur. So when I wasn't able to lead a team, I would still find myself doing it all. And because I was doing it all, I could not, because there's like really like three things to like a service side of the business. One is attraction, two is conversion, and then three is delivery. So I couldn't do all three and still like scale up, right? Because I have to attract people to come in, I have to close them, and then I have to deliver the actual work. So I can only do so much in 24 hours, right? But if I get a team to do each of those three things, then, you can really leverage like time, which allows you to do stuff that moves the needle.
Like what are some things that help you move the needle?
For me, for sure, it's being aligned with these bigger influencers. So it's not so much getting more clients, it's more so getting the right type of clients. So now we're transitioning more into like the high net worth public relations. So every person that comes in our agency now, we're trying to get to 5, but we're only going to take on clients that have over $100 million or more.
Right.
So that really moves the needle for us, because if we're able to do it for high net worth public relations, then people that are not at that like that space or that area actually look towards that.
Right.
They look up to that, which moves the needle for us because it helps cement our legacy in that place.
Got it. Now, what would you recommend to some of the people listening here that are starting out and maybe are struggling? They're not at 100 million, but they're like, hey, like I need to get some publicity. I've got this amazing thing that I do. What do you recommend for them?
I recommend, like, depending on their niche, I don't recommend starting local. I do recommend going big really fast, because there's two ways that you can really like manufacture your personal brand. which allows you to make more money just, because people are no longer like paying for the service now, they're paying to work with you. But there's two things. Either align yourself with these top influencers or align yourself and get brand association with these publications. Like those two are the single biggest growth hacks to like manufacturing your personal brand. Like
so can you say those again? So one is align with
the publications or align with influencers. Those are the two things. Because you either get brand association from the publications or you get brand association from whoever you're working with, right? Your level of client kind of like determines the quality of work that you do.
Right. So you're talking kind of about shared credibility. If you can partner, so these influencers, these people have already gathered all your prospective clients into one place for you. If you can kind of rub elbows and become, aligned with these people, you don't like a lot of the legwork is already done, right? They've already brought these communities together for you, and you share the credibility of the influencers that you're kind of partnering with already, right?
100%, and that's the main thing right there. Because even if they don't have your ideal client base, other people that look up to that influencer will also see you in a very similar light, right? So that's one of the like that way, they just kind of know you as part of them, right? As part of the influencers, and that already puts you, at a place where you don't really need to work as hard because life gets easier for the influencer, right? It really does.
How does life get easier for the influencer?
People give them free products, right, to try out for a shout out, or people give them free services because they're the influencer. People give them, discounts because they want to have them as clients. People open the door for them. Like, life does get easier for the influencer, right? It's no longer that hard to close people because they've already established that credibility. The leads come to them, right? They get to partner up with other top players. So a lot of the legwork is already done once you kind of get to that place.
Now, you hit an interesting spot, and I want to talk about this because recently I was involved with an attempt to do some Instagram influencer marketing. And a couple of things that came up were, one, like you mentioned, there's influencers that were so used to getting free products and services that it was kind of a suicidal deal for any business. And there's two parts to this where okay, I'll send you $500 worth of free product and thank you, and you'll do a photo with it on your post on your on your wall, but it might get 1,000 likes, but that's not going to turn into enough sales to make it worth my while to like pay the $500, pay your fee to do the shout out, the post, send it to you. And that's one point, and I want to kind of get your input on that. And the second point, I think, is the traffic. The other thing that I've seen is maybe you get an influencer that's willing to work with you, but their audience doesn't match your audience. A perfect example was there's an account with 1 million people, decent engagement, but it was like 30% of the largest percent, at least in the Instagram analytics. And I don't know if Instagram's your specialty. I'm not trying to be specified, but it's just like, I think like issues that come up, right? It was like, this business was mostly based in the US, and for the influencer, their audience was mostly in India and like Brazil or Morocco and it was like 12% US. So I want to kind of ask, I guess for the businesses here, talk about aligning with the influencers. How do you work with an influencer? How do you make it worth the influence? How do you do that?
Yeah. So when I say align yourself with the influencer, I do not mean pay the influencer to promote your product or your service.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying that is because everybody kind of knows, like, people are not, it's 21st century. People know when it's like a paid post and all that type of stuff. That is not the same, right? Mm-hmm. And that is not your stuff. That is not the same as like collaborating with an influencer or being in a very similar light, because they understand like you paid to have that endorsement, right? When I'm saying like partner up with the influencer or do work for them or have them as a client, then you kind of put yourself in a level where like, okay, they're paying you. Right, the influencer you. So there's like a difference there, right? Like, one, you're paying them, and people understand that. The difference is like somebody of high level, somebody of high influence wants to work with you, even though they have tons and tons of options.
Got it.
So psychology is different, and that's all that matters really. Is the psychology behind it, is the perception behind it, because perception is reality.
So let me try and say this. Let me try and articulate this clearly in a way that maybe could be actionable and very impactful for the listeners. So what you're saying is, find the biggest influencers in your niche and make them your clients for free and
Or little to no money. Yeah.
for little to
free.
no money in
Yep.
exchange for, and maybe you negotiate up front or not, but in exchange for them just endorse, right? Like putting you out there,
Yep.
essentially.
That is it. Because look, this is what happens. You really only need one, right? Like, for example, with me, when I got Jack Vale, he was not in my niche, right? He does YouTube. So he has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and he's a prankster. So yeah, he's been on TV like Fox and Friends and with George Lopez and all that type of stuff, but he's not an online marketer. He doesn't know how to capture leads from a website. He doesn't know how to do all that type of stuff. So even though he was not in my niche and the people that follow him are not my clients, he's still a big influencer that I can always leverage, that I can always use. That, and then what I did do is I actually got a high-paying client of like a millionaire, like my first millionaire client, because I was able to use Jack Vale as a way in, right? The millionaire client was like, "Oh, I know Jack Vale. Like that dude's amazing and all that type of stuff. I watch his stuff."
Right. So it was almost like a testimonial or referral. It was a demonstrative proof. It was social proof and almost like a demonstration. Like, hey, this guy's a big player and he works with me. So
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I get that.
If this big player is willing to work with me, then you already know like my stuff is good, right? That's the type of like it's like kind of like psychology behind it, right?
You're trying to create almost like a VIP tier of clients in your business that
for sure,
you're almost bartering with essentially, and you're going to give them kind of maybe VIP service. Now, are you asking for explicit terms? Because my concern for the listener that's listening to this is that maybe they're just going to do this free work for the client, but they're not really going to get featured on the YouTube channel or whatever Facebook page or whatever. They're just like, that person might just be word of mouth. It might just be a good referral source, but those can or can't work. So can you give us some specifics on
for sure. So yeah, you do have to be upfront, because then there's also this, right? Let's say you go to an influencer and you say you want to do free work, and then they only see you as somebody that does free work, right. Which means they no longer have that respect for you. They're probably going to demand more than what they've asked for, than what you've told them you were going to do. And then they'll see you as just like somebody that's going to like help them out instead of like you leveraging them. It's the other way around.
Right.
And I've had that happen. Like people of high influence, when I'm first starting out, they just want to use that. They're like, yeah, this is free work. This is what I need.
I've seen that. In fact, I've seen some large influencers, clients that I worked with. I wasn't in that scenario, but I saw them do that to others. There was a guy on the team, great guy from Trinidad and Tobago, and something had gone on in the office, and he felt personally responsible, even though it wasn't his fault. And this influencer milked him, literally, like I'm using the right word here, milked him for like 4 or 5 months of full-time labor until he paid off the emotional debt to this influencer, for this thing. And it was, it wasn't something that was really his fault. So you said friends for a reason, friends for a season, and friends for life. This is kind of the power of like a $1 trial, right? Because if you're friends for the reason that you give them free info, then you have to try, right? It's like getting out of the friend zone with a boy or girl that you like. But if someone even pays you $1 to try, then now you've established the reason of the relationship is you pay me in exchange for this. And that's why people do $1 trials all the time, because it changes the nature of the relationship. So, be upfront, be like, I'll give you this for free, but I would like some shout outs and, at least kind of once, twice, 3 times, whatever. I think that's a great way to do it. And I think that's a really powerful way to work. So, all right. So we've already established that you want to get yourself like a stable. One influencer might be all you need, but aim for a stable and go big. You're saying go big fast. Don't start with
Exactly. Yeah.
So go big fast. Get a stable of these big influencers that are your clients in a barter situation where you're delivering your product for free to them in exchange for them endorsing you. Now, I guess you kind of get whether you negotiate at that point, right? You can't really. Every influencer will be different. Because again, coming back, depending on some people, if it's a coaching consulting service thing, it might be okay. But like what I want, again, I'm coming back to the one post may not be worth the services, right, that I'm giving you. So for some of the people, I guess they got to figure out what that is for them.
So I would never correlate it to like shout outs. Like that's not what you're looking for. You're not looking to get business from this influencer. You're looking to leverage their name. right? That's what you're looking to do.
Ah,
So I would never like go into like a deal like hoping like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be able to get business off of this guy, because then yeah, it just wouldn't work as good. So for me, all I'm looking for is a testimonial,
got it.
right? Because I'll put it this way, like by any chance, you know who Tonio Skits is?
No.
He's like one of those Vine people, or he was
Okay.
famous on Vine. So our COO, he got him as a client, right? He paid us not full price, but he still paid us. Now, and all we did is we asked for a video testimonial afterwards, right? So we got a video testimonial afterwards. Now this is what we do. We don't ask him to send us business. What we do is we go to the same people in his space and we say we work with Tony of Skits, who you know, right? Which kind of like implies the assimilation effect.
Right.
Who you know, and because of that, we've done amazing work. Look at his testimonial, and if you'd like, we can do the same for you. And then this time you charge full price.
Right. Got it. Yeah, that's actually a really good way to demonstrate your credibility. And a lot of people that are getting started out, I think this is great advice for people starting out and struggling, because that's such a great way. I've had a couple of people on this show say one of the best things, especially someone new to get involved, is go do free work for someone that's doing it. Like one, to get experience, almost like an apprenticeship, but two, to really like figure out what you're good and not good at and not be afraid of failing. Go out there and try it. People will respect you for trying. If you fail, don't be afraid to show up later and be like, hey, I know I did this time, but now I've really improved, and give me another chance to show it to you. Because those people, like, that really shines through. Everybody knows, everybody who's made it at any level has had a ton of failures. They've looked foolish a ton of times. They respect the people that work through the obstacle and come back better. And so I think that's a powerful way to do it. So now, how do you get these influencers? How do you get them to agree? How do you access them?
An email. Like an email usually works. Yeah. Usually you can find their email on a website. And if it's not readily available on the website, you can go to hunter.io, which, by the way, is not a sponsor, but you can go to hunter.io, and then you can get that extension, go to the website, and then it'll find the email for you. But really, like, people, it's really a numbers game from there. Like, and it depends on your pitch, right? Mm-hmm. I would, it's not that difficult once you kind of get it down, but you are going to have to send a couple of emails first to kind of see the feedback. So I would not go on like a spamming speed. I wouldn't do like spams, just because, you don't know how good your pitch is until you get a few results back.
Go slow in the beginning.
Yeah, slow.
Yeah,
slow. Don't go for the people that you want to go for right away until you kind of get yeses, and then use that and adapt, and then go for the people that you want to go for.
Got it. So that sounds pretty reasonable. Sounds pretty straightforward. Now, actually, we should mention this now. You have a template script. Are you still willing to share that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's our most converting email pitch template. So we use this all the time. Like, since we do PR, for a lot of people, like right now we have over 50 clients. We just found like, okay, we need one kind of template, and then we just kind of need to edit it based on the client, right? Because we don't want to do the work over and over and over. And we found that this template works best, right? It leverages all aspects of trust, credibility, authority, direction, clarity. So if you guys want it, I'm sure like you'll make it available, right? You'll put it as a download link or something.
Yeah. Well, do you have a link? Let's give a web link on your site that you can set up as a redirect.
I don't have it on my site.
All right.
Yeah, I would.
So people go to bestbusinesscoach.ca. We'll do /pitch template. All right. Pitch template. And I'll set that up as a redirect to send you to the Google Doc Ulyses sent me before the call. So that's bestbusinesscoach.ca /pitch template, no spaces, no nothing, just pitch template. And I'll make sure you see that. And that's his best converting. So this is a really good place to, and what I liked about it too is it's just really straightforward. You can edit it however you see fit, but it really was it was a good way, and you could see the personal touch. And I think that that's important. Like you said, one influencer could be what you need, right? They could be your golden ticket. I know a guy that worked for Disney in Australia, and that was like a gold. The fact that he worked for that company was a golden ticket for him, where he got basically any job interview he went to, as long as he didn't mess it up, he was ahead of everyone else because he had Disney experience, and that's that sort of same thing that you can get from there. It's called shared credibility. I think that's really, really, really powerful. Ulyses, what are some of the greatest mistakes you see your clients and other people's making when it comes to getting free publicity and working with influencers and
Yeah.
brands?
The biggest mistake is just not knowing their end goal. This is one of the reasons why we kind of moved away from like the done for you agency, is that we found that people just wanted to get press just to get press.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's not a good enough reason. Like it's a good enough reason, sorry, but it's not going to help you accomplish that end goal. Right. So what you want to do is figure out, okay, how does the end goal look like for you? How do you want to be perceived as? And then do strategic media placement. Don't just get media placement just because it serves your ego.
Right now, I like to share with you 3 things which I believe will help improve your life, save you money, plus make your business and income grow fast. The first is to call 1-888-844-4769 or 1-888-844-GROW. Introduce yourself and tell me how I can help or how far you've come from where you were when you started. Your story can inspire others plus motivate those who are in now or have come from a similar situation. Second is let me suggest the best of the best options available for your current business. I speak to a lot of people and I can connect you to the expert, resource, or tool which will get you the growth you want in your business now if you will just take a second to tell me about yourself. Visit bestbusinesscoach.ca/help. I'll diagnose the exact thing you need to get you from where you are now to where you want to be in your life and business. Once again, just go to bestbusinesscoach.ca/help. And with a couple clicks, you'll see what I'd suggest you do if you sat down in front of me and helped me understand your current mental, physical, financial situation, plus the stage and status of your current business now. So once again, go to bestbusinesscoach.ca/help, click on what best describes you, and only get the best you deserve. Your time is important, so help me get you the right tool, introduction, strategy, tactic, or tidbit of information you need for better revenues and save your time by needing less effort. Work smarter, not harder. I'm suggesting you help me help you work on your business instead of in it. Third, check out morefreemoney.com to plug a money-sucking black hole and save your business from disaster before it's too late. See, most entrepreneurs don't give their credit card processing accounts a second thought, but that's a big mistake costing you thousands and even tens of thousands of dollars each year. Money you deserve because you're the one who's done all the hard work you do to make the sale. The merchant industry is so bloated with fees, shaving 0.5% or even a full percent can be worth a fortune to your bottom line. All you're doing is keeping more of the money you're already making. The other risk is having the wrong merchant account puts your entire business at risk if and when you hit a sudden growth spurt. Your merchant can decide to keep the money for 8 months plus and shut down your ability to charge credit cards or even switch to a different merchant. Don't wait until it's too late. It takes 5 minutes and it's 100% free to find out how much you can save and make sure the merchant you have right now is the right one for your type of business. Be strategic. Set yourself up for safe, long-term growth. Visit morefreemoney.com to see how much more money you could be keeping from sales you already make. Stop your merchant from stealing from you after you close a sale and collect payment. Visit morefreemoney.com now. Now, is that, when you're saying to get press, is that some of that, because what I want to differentiate as well as like the shout outs, the reason why someone wants a shout out is because to get sales, you need visitors to your website. So they're trying to get in front of a large group of people to get visits to their offer to hopefully make sales, right? And that's depending, especially like an e-commerce business or any sort of product business like that. That's, a service business isn't as much like that because you have a higher conversion rate because typically there's some sort of let's get on the phone and talk consultation, and conversion rates are always higher. But with websites, if you're trying to sell something online with like a video sales letter or even just your homepage, or again, you have a shopping cart, you have a Shopify store or something, you need web traffics. But yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say is when you say be strategic, what are some of the different reasons? Like here you mentioned one fantastic, which is to leverage their name. What about for people that need that? They need traffic. Like, is there a strategy or a strategic way to go about it that way?
Yeah. So you're talking about like an e-commerce product or something?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, media would not be a good place for that. Because the main reason why we get our clients press is for like, okay, let's hop on a phone call, like the credibility type stuff, right? It's not good for bringing traffic to your website. So I know a buddy of mine, Andy, he got like an editorial piece like at from the head honcho at entrepreneur.com. and he only got 12 visitors back to his website.
Yep.
So just these publications, you would think that because they get millions of page views every single month, that you would get, a fraction of that, right, or a good portion of that.
Right.
But that's not true. That's not the case. Chances are you'll probably get like 2,000 to 5,000, views on your article max. And very few people will actually read the article, and then and less people will actually read through it and then click on your link and all that type of stuff. So I don't recommend going that route for your traffic.
And I think that comes back to like what I saw with that Instagram thing was it's just because it's a hodgepodge. It's just such a mix. It's not targeted. When you set up, I always say on the show, there's 3 ways to get traffic: buy it, borrow it, build it. So like I have this podcast, I've built a following, right? I've built, people follow me on social media and on this podcast as a result of being out there, and I'm slowly building it. And it's, it's something you always kind of do. I mean, even in life, you meet new people, you stay in touch with some, not others, right? So that's kind of how it goes. But borrowing it is sort of like a joint venture or an affiliate thing where someone is pushing you traffic, and it's a traffic exchange relationship where, either like Oprah gets you on her show and endorses your product, right? They had something called the Oprah effect, where if Oprah brought and featured a business on her show, it killed businesses. It grew a bunch of businesses and blew them up, like Eckhart Tolle, but it killed more than it built. Because what would happen is you'd get flooded with like 1,000 phone calls, and especially in today's day and age with the online world, people aren't really empathetic. So if you've got the best bakery in town and Oprah's like, I love this little bakery I go to every morning on the corner and blah, 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 boom, you have 1,000 people show up on your door, and they're pissed off that they're not getting served, and and they got this thing and it wasn't made right, and your negative reviews stack up and you get buried and overwhelmed, right? And that's just one example of how they killed it. So they actually would have an audit team go in, but that's borrowing traffic, which is a direct traffic exchange. And then the third one is to buy it, where you just place ads. And with ads, you can be super targeted. You can have, women or like gender, this age range, interested in these things with this percent income. Like you can be so targeted in that. I mean, I guess with media, it's just because it's like a high school. Like everybody's in there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And you're right. It's very not targeted. And even if it is, people that read the articles, will not take action.
Right. Now, I'm kind of going off on a bit of a tangent here, but how does that relate with like dedicated mailings? If there's Entrepreneur has a magazine, a physical magazine, but they also have a digital version, I believe, or I think they've got an email list anyhow. Now, people pay for advertising, I imagine, to show up obviously in the magazine, and I imagine they pay for that. Some magazines do solo email drops. That may or may not work. It's tough to say. I mean, it's kind of like a shout out, I guess. It's still not something you would recommend for any of your clients.
I do not know anything about that.
Sure. No, that's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's just, I was wondering, I'm like, would that, because that's really targeted. That would be more targeted, but it's still a mix of the list. I guess it depends on your offer. And I think it kind of comes back to it too, for a lot of people listening to it, they say that there's a traffic problem, but it's you have a conversion problem. Your offer isn't strong enough is probably for a big part of it. Do you help your clients with their offers at all?
Yeah, messaging is a big part of that. Because if you do not have the right messaging, then it's going to be very hard to lead people to an action.
Right.
To do anything, to be inspired, to follow you, to buy something. So because like for example, with us, for the longest time, we were selling the airplane and not the destination. We kept selling like, PR is this, PR is that, but nobody's end goal is to get, media interviews. Like nobody's end goal is for them to be interviewed all the time. Like that's not a destination. Mm-hmm. That's a way to get, like, that's a methodology and stuff like that. But messaging is that they want to become a household name. They want to be the expert. That way they don't have to go seek out media, but the media comes to them. Mm-hmm. That's like they want to become the go-to. Mm-hmm. That's more of like a destination than, get interviews every single day or whatever for the rest of your life. Like, right. Nobody really wants that.
Right. Now, what do you feel is the future of your industry? What's the future of public relations and publicity and influencer marketing?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure because it's very, very evolving. Like it's always changing. Once you think you have like your hand on the pulse, it just switches up. Like the Huffington Post, they deleted their entire contributor platform. Like nobody can contribute there anymore. BuzzFeed looks like they're following the same route. Who knows? Like the publications used to be indexed. Follow. Now the links are like no follow. So it honestly changes a lot because of marketers, right? They just use it and they abuse it. And because of that, like everything's like constantly changing. So I don't know, but I just know like as long as you kind of keep up with the times and as long as you adapt with it, then you're good.
I imagine there's some key principles, though, that will probably remain, because I know, like, MySpace once was popular, and it's come and gone, and then Facebook was the end-all, be-all, and it's still large, you can't argue that, but there's others that are, I think there's even one in China now that's bigger than Facebook, because it's China, I mean, obviously, but, same thing like with Google. Google was huge, and I don't even know what it is. Is it Badoo? I don't even know what it is. No, that's a dating app. I don't even know what it is. It's Bakamon. There's another search engine that's like huge online, and it's China. So these things change. But as a principle, I think some of the things that you shared with us was things like, aligning and strategic alliance is one way to talk about it, like a joint venture, strategic alliance. Get good at what you've got, have something valuable to offer, and then work with some of the people that are at the top of the tier in your category, if only just to leverage their name and get endorsed by them. And that on its own can have residual effects and hopefully cause, right, and create. And there's, I mean, I don't know if there's any get rich quick scheme. That's the other part.
Yeah. No, there's not. But I will say this, though. The publications, since they're evolving, there's more ways now you can get featured, right? So it used to be just where the only way you'd be able to contribute or get featured is in a written format, like somebody would interview you. But now, like they've opened it up to where they have a video platform, they have a podcast where they syndicate content from. So now, if you get in in a podcast interview, you can still say like, yeah, I was featured in Entrepreneur, but it was just in a podcast format instead of like an article.
Got it. Okay, so that's another way to get out there. It is the diversification of content. That's something that we did in the early days of the internet. Like we would try to run Google. It's worked really well for local businesses. You wouldn't want to just be in Google search, but you would want to be in Google Images and on YouTube. Like you would want to be every tab that Google had, you would want to have your content at the top because everyone was fighting over the Google search results, but no one was fighting for the Google image search results. If you're like a local dentist. And so there was all these different little hacks that we were doing, and another one was getting, and this probably still works today, but is collaborating with these people. Like, so what I mean is, like, I had a martial arts school in a small town in Ontario, Canada, and so I would have a website, but my website can only take up one spot on the Google search ranking, right, the front page of Google. But if I also set up a WordPress blog on wordpress.org, and I set up a Squidoo lens, and I did some guest articles on these 3 other sites that ranked higher than my competitors' websites, I could push everybody off the first page, so everything led back to me.
Yep.
Is that something that you think would still work today?
Yeah, like one of the ways to dominate, like if you don't have anything, like if you look up your name, right, and you don't really have much, an easy way to dominate that, to control what people see, is to get on smaller publications, because you can actually control what these smaller publications say more than you can with these bigger publications, right? So you can either do that, get featured for that, or become a contributor, right? Become a writer to these smaller publications. So that way, everybody, anytime somebody searches up your name, all they see is you being a contributor to like multiple websites. Right. Because one of the things that people do before they buy is research.
Right.
So if they do that research, you want to be able to control what they see.
Right. So you almost need that's almost like, it's like a part of a content strategy on the back end.
Right.
Because you still got to get traffic to your site and your offers. At any point, even if you're a service, you got to get visitors to your website to sign up, to enough visitors to your website for someone to call in and book an appointment or request a quote, even if it's not e-commerce there. But like you said, everyone's going to do that background search. Like I'm notorious for looking for promo codes and coupons. I'm so bad for that. I'll be like on someone's order form, and if I see there's like a spot for a promo code, I'm not buying. I'm not buying for at least another 15, 20 minutes because I'm going to be Googling I don't think a lot of people realize that if you don't have promo codes, hide that damn field on your order form because it's killing sales. Because there's been tons of times I've gone to buy something and I'll search for promo code, phone rings, I've got to go take the dog for a walk. Oh, I'll buy this later. 3 days, week go by. Anyways, so all right, now what are there any habits that you feel have helped you, or habits that you see the people you work with that have helped them on their path to success?
Yeah, they really. So I'm pretty sure you've heard this, but they say like it takes twice as long to accomplish what you want to accomplish than what you thought it would, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like something takes twice as long than what you think it would.
Right.
So in order to hit the timeline, right? In order to hit the time frame, you need to cut off 50% of what doesn't matter.
Mm.
Because if it takes you twice as long, then if you cut off 50%, then you should be good, right? You should be able to hit the time frame that you're going for. So figure out, do a timesheet, figure out where you're spending your time, where can you delegate, what can you delete, and then what can you do yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you realize, okay, what moves the needle? What can I delegate to somebody else? That way I can keep doing what moves the needle, whether it's sales, bringing traffic, whatever it is. But yeah, the people that I know that are succeeding, they really focus on what matters.
Right. The 80-20 principle. Let's get clear on what the 20% is that does the 80% of the bulk.
Yep.
And what happens if you don't know? How do you find out?
That's why you do a timesheet. So yeah, because you'll find like once you do a timesheet, you'll really realize like, okay, what am I doing that really does not serve me any good? Like I'm just doing busy work,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Like cutting the grass outside is busy work. You can get somebody else to do that while you try to make a sale.
Yep.
The amount of time it takes you to cut your yard, right? You can call 5 people up and try to close a sale. And even if nobody buys, like you still have 5 leads that you can ask. Well, okay, if you're not a good fit, then do you know somebody who is?
Yep. That's a really good point. Gary Halbert said that back in the day. He said the biggest thing a lot of people don't understand is that your product or service isn't what makes money. It's selling and convincing people that they need your product or service is what makes the money. And that really inspired me to this concept that any business is a black box, where it's like a dentist office. You come in crying on one side, you're in pain, and you go through you don't even really know what happens at the dentist, right? You just go, you sit in the chair, they do stuff, and then you leave, and you're like, oh, thanks. And they tell you and explain what happened, but you don't really know, right? You're like, okay, sure. And then you're on to the next thing. And so it's this black box where you go in crying and in pain on one side, leave happy and smiling. And that's your business, or that's your product or services. And that's something that people need to be really clear also on the outcome, which is something that, we all need to, what's the outcome? Like you said, what's the destination? You're not selling the airplane, you're selling the destination. So people don't, if you tried to sell flights by like, hey, you're going to sit next to a crying baby for 12 hours and you're going to get sick because everyone's coughing and sneezing and the food's going to be garbage and 3 times the price what it should be because the airports are a controlled environment, no one would buy that. But if you're talking about them being on the beach in Jamaica with a little coconut drink, right? Like that's what they do it for. So you got to be clear on what your outcome is. And then on side of that, it's like, hey, if my little black box solves pain, I need to find everyone that's in pain and be like, look, just go in the black box. Just go in the black box. Just try it for $1. Just go in the black box, see how it works, and then you'll understand, you'll get it, and you'll come back again and again and again. And that's what makes the money. It's not doing the work that the business does.
Yes, I agree.
So I think that's a really important thing. Now, if anyone here is in a traffic-dependent business like e-commerce, what would you recommend? I mean, you said that media is not a good place for them for traffic. What do they do? How do they use press? Do you have any insight or solutions or any suggestions on that?
To get more traffic, I wouldn't be able to help. But I would be able to help if they're looking to convert the traffic that they already have.
Ooh, all right.
So, because a lot of times, people, if they go to your website and they're going to buy something, if it looks shady, they're probably not going to buy it, right? And I don't know too much about the space, but I do know like buying is all based on trust. So again, if you're able to control what they see, if you're able to like take them through a funnel where they know and like and trust you, and that Forbes endorses this product or whatever, then chances are they're probably going to like lean towards buying it more than they would if they didn't have that. Right.
I actually think that's a really important thing to break down a little bit. Trust and confidence helps equal sales. And I think that comes back to, like you said, I loved how you reframed what I said, because I was like, how do they get more traffic? And you're like, well, I don't know how to get more traffic with media, but you can use media to make people more confident and in you as a company, and help you increase their trust in you, so they're willing to try out what happens. And I think that that's a really powerful thing. I mean, if you've got a product and it's like, hey, we help, I don't know why I'm just picking names, but hey, like, our product really helps whiten teeth and it's safe and effective. And, here you can see Beyonce with her little night table and this little Instagram post she did about how she uses them every night. And here's another one with, Kim Kardashian. And here's another one with Michelle Obama. And here's another one with so-and-so. If you had an email campaign that was like that.
Oh yeah, you'd sell like crazy.
Right, because of the trust and confidence that people would have in it, and also the whole, if it's good enough for them, it's good for me too.
Right. Yeah.
No, I like that. That's a really good way to position it. Now, do you feel anything holds people back, or what do you think holds people back from doing better with media? One, I think, is not knowing that what we just shared, that little secret there.
No, yeah, that's the biggest one. That PR is taboo. Like the reason they don't get media coverage is because they simply do not know how to go about it. They just see it as like they have to have connections or whatever it is. But because they never go after the media is the reason why they don't have it. So a lot of people, they just wait to get it, but that's rarely going to be the case. You want to actively go out and find them, because there's tons and tons of people in this world. So chances are, the chances of them finding you are very slim. So you have to go out and find them, so that way, and every time they need an expert on whatever it is that you're an expert on, they can always come back to you.
Right. That makes sense. And I think that you did say that you wouldn't recommend media for traffic, but I think that the way that you're talking about using it kind of would generate traffic as well. And the reason why, I actually have a real world example. Jermaine Griggs has been a guest on our show 3 times. He's also a guy I would consider I consider him a best friend, a long distance best friend. I mean, every time I see this guy, it's like we grew up together. He's like my brother from another mother. He's a fantastic human being. I have so much respect for him. And right now he's traveling the world with his wife and 3 kids for a year. Their goal is, I think, to do something like 70 countries in 12 months or something like that is their goal. And they're traveling the world, and they've got an Instagram channel that they've created. And by doing their thing, they got featured by some influencer, some media group, and all of a sudden their account went from like 1,000 followers to over 30,000 followers, literally almost overnight.
Wow.
Because they just were like, this person picked them up and said, hey, check out this amazing thing this guy's doing. They're world schooling their kids. They're taking a year to show their kids all these different cultures, taking their world heritage sites, all that sort of stuff. And he does it because he has an online business. And so it was like really inspiring. And I think that caused them to all of a sudden bump there, right? That buy, borrow, build. And because he had mechanisms in place to capture and build that audience, boom, now he's got all these followers, right? So now all their posts are getting like a couple thousand likes. Where again, if you just look at their account, a month ago, it was like what, a 30% or a 30th the size it is now. So I think that's part of it. I think, like you said, not going after it. I don't know if he went after it or not. I don't think he would have, and I don't think he would have paid for it. But that's something to think about. I think if you do it in the right way like that, I think it can work for you. Even if traffic is your goal, I think it's the whole concept. It's not who you know, it's who knows you, and give people something to talk about.
Yeah, because that's very rare. Like what happened to him might not happen, like will probably not happen to everybody else.
Right.
That's why I'm saying go for it, because, like again, like if you kind of wait for something like that to happen, it might not ever happen.
Yeah. It's not going to just fall on you. But I think, again, it comes to the whole, you got to go out and get these people. So, all right, so we're reaching out to these major influencers. We're going to get them on board as clients. We're going to trade them free in order to be able to basically get their endorsement on our product, to use that to convert more of our traffic. Because if you have to knock on 100 doors to make one sale, if you have to knock on 10 doors to get one sale, if we can get, and your goal is to get 30 sales, you have to knock on 300 doors to get your 30 sales. But if we can get you to make 2 sales for every 10 doors you knock on, we cut that down by half.
Yes.
Right? Because now every 10 doors, every 100 doors you knock on is 20 sales, as opposed to needing 200. And so just by increasing your conversion rate, you can do more with less traffic. So if traffic is a really sexy thing, it's like, yeah, I got 1 million visitors to my website. I got right? I've got all these downloads, but what's the conversion rate? Which also speaks to, again, like you said, the trust, the credibility. I think that's a really powerful thing. And people need to look at that. think it's a really important part. In today's day and age, it's really easy to get lost in the numbers. A lot of us listening to this, we probably already have way more traffic than we realize. Hundreds or thousands of followers on LinkedIn or, Twitter or Facebook, or, we do a live on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and it gets a few hundred views. The traffic is there, even if you did get a shout out by one of these influencers, like the traffic is there, but are you converting it? And I think that really does deserve a lot of attention. And I think today on our call, you gave some really good examples for how to get your credibility up, to help buyers have more confidence in you. And if you're afraid of that, if you're shy of reaching out to these people, then you probably need to work on your product or service more, so that way you won't be shy. You'll want to put it into these people's hands as much as you can, and that way, yep. That's a really product-centric look at business. I mean, I've heard it said both ways. Sorry, I know I'm on a soapbox. I'll get off in a second. I've heard people say, like, good marketing can sell a non-existent product when bad marketing can't sell free gold. But in the world where you want to have an income over months and years, you really want to have a great world-class product or service. Tesla, like, they can't make them as fast as they can sell them, because they've got such good products. CrossFit is like, they're growing, they're having to control their growth because the results that they get people is so phenomenal. So there really is something to be said about having a world-class product or service. It's a catch-22. If you have the world's greatest product and nobody knows about it, right, it's not going to do you any good. So you kind of do need to walk both lines a little bit and just beware if you're leaning too heavy on one or the other side. I think. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I agree 100%.
Sorry, I know it's my show. You can't be like, that's a terrible idea. Daryl, you suck. Like, you can't.
No.
All good. Sorry. So I guess, what do you do now? What are you doing now? What are you working on now? What are you excited about most?
Right now, we're serving the CEO that has a massive company, but has like no personal brand whatsoever. So we are no longer serving the influencer. The reason for that is because if we were able to get, the influencer a lot of results, then, we can just imagine like how massive the results will be with somebody that has nothing, but yet all the credibility in the world.
And if anyone's enjoyed this, and if anyone wants to reach out, if anyone wants to get your help and work with you exclusively, or talk to you, or have you look over what they're doing, what are some of the best ways for them to contact you?
You can go to my website, ulyssesosuna.com, or on my Facebook, Ulyses Osuna. I'm always on Facebook.
And let's check that out. So it's ULYSESOSUNA. I'll say that one more time. ULYSESOSUNA. And so you said go to your Facebook, and where else?
Yeah. My Facebook and my website. So Facebook and then website, ulyssesosuna.com.
Perfect. Ulysses, is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
Oh man, that's a tough question. No.
Okay. I think it was good. I think we covered a lot of things. I mean, just a quick recap. We talked about how to leverage influencers, first how to get them, the best way to use them. We kind of just cut through some of the realities that, look, if you're just trying to get like a bunch of traffic, it may or may not work. We mentioned that, you might get a spike of sales from a feature, but that's not the primary reason to get attention and work with influencers. That's like a sidebar effect. The real reason why you want to work with these people is for like credibility that's certified.
Yes.
Beats by Dre was like, I think they sold it for like $1 billion or 500 million, some ridiculous sum. I think, was it $1 billion? I think maybe it was $1 billion. They sold it, and that was built exclusively on relentlessly having those headphones shown being worn by different people, a never-ending cascading waterfall of credibility and social proof of everybody else that's using it. If you reached out to all the influencers, your audience, if you have a product, if you reached out to all the influencers and you had let's say you're a football guy and you had all the major football stars wearing your sunglasses, wearing your sneakers, wearing your product, if you could have as many of those as you could just seen around, not even like necessarily a photo, but you just give it to them, and then they're playing the game and they're just wearing your knee sleeves because they just happen to have them and they're nice, new, and they like them. I mean, that's a really powerful way to grow the business and influence people indirectly, and using that then in your marketing when people talk to you. Why should you buy us over other people? Well, so-and-so uses this, so-and-so uses it. Hey, if it's good enough for them, isn't it good enough for you? Isn't it worth trying, checking out, and making more, capitalizing more? So we talked about that. Talked about how we can use media to control the results people find when they research us. That's another reason to work with these people, to get featured, to get the shout outs, not even so much for the traffic, but for what people find when they go looking for us, and make sure we pass the sniff test. What else we talked about? You got to go out and get it. I also talked about the email pitch template. Again, anyone who's interested in that, go to bestbusinesscoach.ca/pitch template. One word, no spaces, dashes. And I think that was it, really. I mean, you gave us a really good and powerful way to work with these people and to reach out and to use them to leverage to get us in places we might not get in otherwise. So thank you.
Dude, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Appreciate you, and all the best with your future projects, and hopefully we'll have you back on the show soon.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you. 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 And I